Clap.
What, Matt? When you say clap, when you're supposed...
Yeah, is it 3 or on 3? Clap. Is it on 3?
It's on 3. It's on 3. Matt, we
You're
do
perfectly
this
fine.
constantly.
I panic when it's someone who's thrown into the mix. I'm like, I'm going to yell clap in case they're unaware of what they're supposed to do.
As if Brian wasn't on the show
Hey
for
guys, I'm
3
Brian.
fucking...
First time caller, long time listener. Am I doing the claps right?
There's the stupid Brian voice. I've missed it so much.
It would be really beneficial if on the count of 3 you said clap, so we all know that that's time to clap.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. This week we're talking about Munster Go Home. I forgot to write down the year, whatever, from 65
67?
or 66.
66.
We all threw out different numbers. That's all right.
2009.
Look, the
Munster
reason
Go
why we're
Home.
talking about Munster Go Home is that at the time that this episode drops, Rob Zombie's The Munsters will be also dropping on Netflix. And I picked this for a very specific reason. Besides SEO. SEO was a huge factor in this choice. But the second reason is like, look, I am not going to sit on this microphone and say that Rob Zombie's Munsters is going to be a good movie. I have no clue if it's going to be a good movie. What I wanted to pick with this movie is that the complaints that people have been throwing at the trailer for quote-unquote damaging the legacy of the Munsters is pure insanity, because if you rewatch that trailer immediately after you watch this movie, they look like A and B to each other. Like, the humor is on point, the camera style is on point, the coloring and lighting, it like, everyone's like, oh, it looks so cheap. Yeah, watch a fucking Munsters movie from 1960 and he's nailing the aesthetic.
Yeah.
No fucking kidding, dude. And $600,000 budget for Munster Go Home. And we're like, which must have been a season, if that, of the show.
This movie did so badly, it killed a different movie that they were also planning to make. They were trying to make a Get Smart movie. And they're like, well, let's see how the Munsters movie does first. And it did so bad. They're like, all right, just take the footage that we already shot of the Get Smart movie and release it as like a 3-part serial in front of like movies.
So
at the
wasn't there
drive-in.
there wasn't a Get Smart movie? Because I thought there was.
Not until like the Steve Carell movie in like
really?
whatever.
Okay,
Wow,
so
I didn't realize that was
really-
a remake of...
Oh, I knew that was a remake because my dad loved Get Smart, the show. But I thought that there was a movie. That's some Berenstain Bears shit right there for me.
Yeah.
Not that I gave a shit enough about Get Smart to, 1, do any research on whether or not there was a film that was made, and 2, watch the Steve Carell remake because it's not my thing.
Yeah, it's like one of those things just not worth fighting, where it's like, there was already a Get Smart film. I don't care.
Let's argue about trivial shit on the internet.
So I want to make it clear that I don't think that this is a good movie. I don't think any of the 3 other people on this will try to argue this is a good movie, but for some reason, this movie still... maybe it's just my love of, like, old shit. But, like, I didn't really laugh while watching this movie. I didn't particularly enjoy the view. I think I hit the button to see, like, how much time was left 2 or 3 different times. Yeah. But I felt such a comfort still while I was watching the movie that can only be described as, like, vintage stuff makes me feel safe.
Yeah. Well, the laughing part makes sense because nobody cued you to laugh.
Yeah.
There's no...
If you don't know...
No. If you don't know, how are you going to laugh? How are you going to enjoy anything if somebody around you doesn't also share that joy? You know, I just want to be completely transparent. Because Brian was here, in honor of Brian being here, I didn't watch the whole movie. I only watched the first half an hour and as much as I could of the last half hour until I got the notification that we were going to jump on
That's a serious
Zencaster.
Brian move. Holy shit.
Well, listen, on both ends of those, I would say, so say I watched 45 minutes, 15 minutes of it was the whole wolf transformation gimmick. There's a lot of that. Is that a common thing?
No, so this...
Does Grandpa Munster change into...
This movie literally functions like they had 3 unreleased episodes of the Munsters and just tried to, like, smash them together. Because it's like... Hey, this is that unaired episode, The Munsters Boat Ride, and then, like, here's this...
Do you know how long it takes to get to Europe from America on a boat? It takes an entire episode of The Munsters.
I think my favorite line in this whole movie, while we're talking about the dog, is when Grandpa turns into a dog and he busts out of the room, and then one of the guys on the ship just goes, "Hey, it's a dog. Let's nab it."
Yeah, that is one of the only quotes from this fucking thing that I wrote down.
The only thing that and Herman Munster getting stoned on the boat was
Dude,
exciting
I
for
wrote
me.
that. I never thought I'd hear Herman Munster talk about how excited he was to get stoned.
I was like, hell yeah, brother.
Man, the
It's a
60s
long-ass
were a
boat
wild
ride.
time.
Yeah.
I also wrote down the fact that Eddie Munster enunciates the word tomatoes in ways that I never knew was possible. I wrote it down the best to that I could possibly sound spell it, which was tomatoes.
Yeah, that's exactly how you say it.
Because they were throwing tomatoes at us.
Well, I thought it was a joke against British people, but then he said it more than once, right? He said it a lot.
Yeah, it was a repeat.
It was
for
Okay.
sure.
Kyle, I had closed captions on, and it literally would put, as he said it, TAMOU-TOE.
Oh, so we know where Tubi stands.
Yeah.
Or however like,
Oh no, it was
it's
the Scream,
tomato, motherfucker.
it was the Scream Factory Blu-ray that they sent me.
Oh, that's
I think
why.
that's Scream Factory pulling a
nice.
fast one on you.
Yeah.
I watched mine on a DVD. I am curious though, because I know you said this was basically like 3 episodes, and I'm pretty sure the whole episode of Hot Rod Herman
Yeah.
is he's about to be in a race. He totals a car. Grandpa builds him Dragula out of a coffin,
Yep.
and he wins the race.
Yeah,
Right?
they literally just were like, "Hey, why not in our movie we'll just recreate the most beloved episode of our only 2-season show." And
And they're like, is this really the most beloved episode? It's like, it will be in 1999 when Rob Zombie makes his first album.
yeah, I mean, I do like the updated Dragula in this. One of the things that I wrote down was just that the Wolf doll kind of rules. Like Eddie Munster walking around with his little Wolfman doll, asking people to kiss it goodnight. I'm like, God, that doll. I would have that doll if I found that at like an antique store. I'd buy that shit.
There were so many things where I just saw Matt's boners throughout this movie. The butler, Matt got a boner.
God, yeah.
When they first entered the mansion and it was like this spinning, like everything was spinning and the skeleton popped up and all that, Matt came everywhere. Like I knew it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are 2 other things that made me laugh in this movie. One, debatable if it was intentional or not. I'm going to lean towards, like the Munsters kind of always knew that it was cheesy as hell. But when they have the ticking apple, that's a bomb.
Oh yeah.
And she throws it out the window, and then it just cuts to this stock footage of an explosion in the ocean. Like, got a legitimate laugh from me because it is such a bad transition from the footage to the stock footage and back. Like, not even trying there. And then equally explosion. This one I know intentionally. When the one driver is trying to kill Herman Munster and they drive into him and the entire car explodes, I got such a loud laugh out of it. Now, Brian, while you were watching it and thinking of all the times that I had a boner, I was watching it and thinking of every single slapstick moment that made Scott want to rip his eyeballs out of his skull while watching this.
The stakes were very
was so
low,
relieved.
so it wasn't hard for me to just turn my brain off and barely pay attention. Truly, this is going to sound awful, and I'm so sorry. I really only tuned in when Yvonne DiCarlo was on because Lily Munster is a fucking snack, dude. Like it's not Yvonne DiCarlo. I mean, like she was a beautiful woman, but she's no Morticia. But the thing is that it's the dress.
Yes.
That fucking dress is
The spooky dress.
yes. I was loving it, and I was trying to think of a way to get Megan to do Lily Munster so that I could do Lily Munster. But I don't really want to do Herman. I'm also not. I do not have the body shape to do Herman Munster, and it would be very odd for me to do her son in a costume for a Halloween.
Or even her
like,
dad,
I couldn't be dad either. There's no real. We did Morticia and Gomez last Halloween, and I don't see us ever doing the Munsters.
Well, you don't want to be Eddie Munster to her Lily? That's not going to be like weirdly creepy? Because there's a lot of porns on the internet that make it seem like that's pretty okay.
Yes, that is the correct.
Clerks.
One of the controversial things of this movie is the recasting of Marilyn Munster.
Controversial to whom?
Well, controversial because no. This was called out specifically. On the wiki, it even says...
There are dozens of us.
Yeah, there are dozens. No, it's been called out a couple times, mostly because it felt like this. To me, it totally makes sense. She is supposed to be a college-age person. The girl who previously played her was 30 and looked 30, so they went with a slightly younger actress. Also, at the time, Universal was trying to really make that actress a big name, Debbie Watson.
Debbie
And
Watson.
what better way
Yeah.
than to replace a pre-existing actor with her in a movie that'll flop?
Shockingly,
Okay,
this
cool.
did not work. She did 2 other movies the next year and then never acted again. So,
shit.
so this was a failed attempt. But yeah, this was a little bit of a, historically people were like, oh yeah, this is the one where they replaced Marilyn Munster.
Are there other Munster movies?
So from this point on, it was all remakes. Basically, they would just keep trying to revive the franchise. But I think that, and this is going to be the problem with Rob Zombie too, is Fred Gwynn just gets it.
Yeah.
He is, to me, what makes watching most of the Munsters stuff so digestible is that he plays every line at 110%. He knows that it's a stupid, cheesy joke.
Mm-hmm.
He goes for it. Brian and I have texted each other before because we both have the same Munsters box set because I think we saw it was on Amazon Prime for $10 one day. And we're like, there's a purchase.
That bad
Yeah.
boy.
Oh my God, so quick. But his laugh, after he tells his stupid dad jokes is it's, I know Kyle was joking around about well, you don't have a laugh track, so how are you supposed to know when something's funny? He has a laugh that
Fred Gwynn
makes it
has
where
his
it's
own laugh track.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
joke is unfunny, but how much joy he gets out of his dumb joke becomes the bigger punchline 9 times out of 10.
No, he's definitely the most successful part of any of I don't know. I never got the Munsters, but he's the guy. He's the point person for at least something's enjoyable about it, it doesn't make sense to me. I've never totally understood it, but even throughout this whole movie, I was like, oh yeah, okay.
That's when I really was not excited about Rob Zombies. Was
Because they couldn't
whoever played
resurrect
Grandpa,
Fred
they
Gwynn?
were doing no, but if you see the 2 seconds that the grandpa speaks, the guy is doing an impression
Oh yeah.
of Grandpa.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And they're just let's just make Herman Munster sound like Kermit the Frog. And I'm like, no, let's not do that.
That's the last thing we should do. Even for the Kelly brothers. we
Yeah,
shouldn't
yeah. I
do
was about to say
that
that's
at all.
No.
pure blasphemy.
Has there ever been 2 people that a movie was made more specifically for than Rob Zombie making a Munsters movie than
No.
the Kelly
kidding,
brothers?
It's true. When that came out, I thought it was a fucking joke. I really didn't.
Yeah, it's
Ma-
one of
but-
the few movies where me and Matt are going to go to say
Yeah,
Rob
that-
Zombie's Munsters and Quentin Tarantino's Muppets.
Yes, when those Venn diagrams finally cross over. But yeah, I mean, the movie is what it is. It's like I said, it's essentially just if someone smashed together a bunch of Munsters episodes and released it as a movie. This was the first time we ever saw them in color. They'd always been in black and white, so they had to completely redo the costumes because the costumes were designed to be shot in black and white, which means that they were kind of a unappealing grayish color, and they're like, shit, they probably should have some colors that pop out of their clothes a little bit more. And it looks a little weird as someone who I definitely, I mean, I think Brian will agree on this crazy hot take. The show is definitely more enjoyable than this movie in every way possible. But it's
Absolutely,
know.
the show's better than The Munsters is better than Addams Family, and the biggest reason for that is because I've watched both of them while falling asleep. And the Addams Family's laugh track is louder than the audio in the show Addams Family, which made it very difficult for me to fall asleep to it.
Right.
Therefore, Munsters wins.
Munsters wins. That makes that.
That's not
honestly
arbitrary at all,
sound
Brian. Not at all.
logic.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Thank you for your work in watching all of those.
Thank you
threads.
for your service.
But yeah, The Munsters is you're either someone who's going to want to watch the show or you're not, and you probably already know who you are by the year 2022. And Brian and I fell into the category of people who were like, "Yep, this is something we want to watch."
No, but like we watched it on TV Land. That's the thing.
Yeah.
If you don't know if you like the Munsters at this point in your life and you're listening to this podcast, you don't like the Munsters.
I don't know, man. It might be that if you listen to this show and you haven't watched the Munsters, I feel like there is at least a 50% chance, if not a 70% chance, that you do like the Munsters or you would like the Munsters.
You need to have a very specific, like the Munsters is bad vaudeville comedy. And if like that is something that you find enjoyable, watch the Munsters. If you can't stand that stuff, you're not going to like the Munsters. That's kind of where it ends up landing.
Kyle, did you have a beverage for tonight?
I am drinking / not drinking, but I'm drinking Beard's Franken-Scary. So they came out with a beer called Frankenberry, and then for Halloween, they put out Franken-Scary.
Nice.
However, on the time of this recording, it's not at our store yet. So I am pre-ordering a beverage for Munster Go Home, and it's called Franken-Scary.
You brought up Frankenberry. So, thing that most people don't know, I have never had any of the Monster cereal before. Like that seems like it'd be my shit. So, I went to the Giant and I paid $12 to get a box of each one.
Good Lord!
Tell me what I want to hear, and you're not going to say it.
Well, so far all I've had is Fruit Brute and Frankenberry, and I gotta say, kind of overrated. I think the cereal is kind of overrated.
Blueberry is the best.
Okay,
but it's not good.
It tastes cheap.
It cuts up your mouth like Cap'n Crunch, but at 3 times the rate.
Yes,
that like it almost tastes like cutting up the roof of your mouth.
Yeah, it's blood flavored.
Yeah, it's wild. I was like, I can't believe
that's part of the appeal.
It just again, I'm going to just say it tasted cheap. Like it tasted like
it was the La Croix of cereal.
Yeah,
you know, it was like, oh, this kind of tastes like hurting air. I vaguely taste blueberry.
Yeah.
No, I tried them for the first time last year myself. My mom had gotten them for me as if I had given a shit about that.
Don't talk shit about your mom.
Mom. No, my mom's a fucking saint. She got us all of that Manscaped money with the promo code. I mean, I just always loved a chocolate cereal anyway, so like Count Chocula was like, okay, yeah, like that's good. It's like a Cocoa Puffs, but not, and that's fine by me. Everything else, I didn't care.
I'm telling you, Frankenberry and Fruit Boot are the same fucking cereal. Like I can't tell the difference. Like I can't tell the difference of them.
Wait, which monster is Fruit Brute?
That's the werewolf.
The ghost.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Do you like to laugh, geek out on music, and learn all about that band or artist who had that one song back in the day, but then seemed to fall off the face of the earth? If so, you need to subscribe to One Hit Thunder. Together with an array of interesting and hilarious guests, we do a weekly dive into one-hit wonders like Eiffel 65's Blue, Krayshawn's Gucci Gucci, EMF's Unbelievable, Delamitri's Roll to Me, Los Del Rio's Macarena, Musical Youth's Pass the Dutchie, and even Patrick Swayze's She's Like the Wind. So are you subscribed to One Hit Thunder or what? As Desiree would say, you gotta be. And as K7 would encourage, you gotta come, baby, come and join in on the fun of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come, come. Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come.
Matt, since this is your pick, what would you double feature with this?
I'm going to pull from a little piece of history, actually, and I'm going to watch the movie that actually was the drive-in double feature with Munster Go Home.
Ooh.
The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, starring
Oh,
Don
you've been
Knotts.
wanting to put that one on the show for years.
Yeah, well, so listen, my friend Lauren is screaming in her car just at the mere mention of Ghost and Mr. Chicken. That's kind of her and I's like little October watch together. So again, if you like, you'll know if you like the Munsters already. If you're a Don Knotts fan and you haven't seen Ghost and Mr. Chicken, get on it. It's the best Don Knotts movie.
Well, I don't know if that's the best Don Knotts movie, but did you ever notice the Don Knotts and stupid Brian voice kind of sound the same?
Yeah. Speaking of stupid Brian voice, since he's kind of the guest on this episode a little bit, Brian, what would your double feature with Munster Go Home be?
I'd be like, wow, that was a good watch. Let's watch something funny now. And I would put on My Cousin Vinny, since Herman is the judge in My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah, perfect.
I would also pick a movie from 1966 called The Undertaker and His Pals, which is another sort of like, it's sort of like, I would say it's like Herschel Gordon Lewis meets Munsters in its like black comedy slapstick thing.
Okay.
And it's also like a drive-in B movie. So it's like right up. It's just perfect for me. It's bloodier and grosser and actually probably not as funny, but which is hard to say. But it's also only 63 minutes. So
Damn.
as opposed to 93.
Yeah,
That is
93
exactly
minutes
how.
is wild.
That's economy right there.
I might pick that for something for us to watch
Hey,
one time. if we
63
need a
minutes.
60
You can't make me say no.
Talk
to
about
that.
Matt Kelly boners,
Yeah,
right?
Jesus.
Like, come on.
I
all
wouldn't
right,
even have
Scott?
to touch the fast forward. I'm going to go along with what I think is an actually funny slapstick, very tongue-in-cheek horror movie. And I'm going to do Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, because it's very similar.
Great choice.
Good
Great
choice.
choice. Have you guys ever seen that?
A little obscure film called Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Yeah, a slight deep cut.
We watched that in Ohio, if you guys can remember.
I
Yeah,
mean,
we did.
It was a good time.
Did you watch it or were you asleep?
No, he was awake for that one.
I think we ended with Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's
That
when I
was
tied both
you
or
walked
whatever.
away. Yeah, we hit play
He
on
fell
that
asleep
one. And you're
right
like,
there
impression.
because he was too afraid to go
Yeah.
down in the basement.
And I was like, I think I'm going to tell those guys to keep it down because I can't fall. And I was just-
So Matt, what do you want to pimp out on this week's episode of Horror Movie Night that you have watched, read, listened to, experienced, or otherwise? Yeah.
So at the time that we're recording this, last night I went to the, I guess it's only for 2 nights, but I went to the Fathom Events screening of Clerks 3.
Ooh.
oh.
So the best thing I can say right out the gate is that this is easily Kevin Smith's best movie since Zack and Miri Make a Porno, which is not exactly high praise when you look at what those movies are in a post-Zack and Miri world. You got Cop Out, you got Tusk, you got Red State, you got Yoga Hosers, and you got the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. What I will say is that the jokes are fine. They definitely poke fun at the fact that the original Clerks aged very poorly. It has some really great plot twists with some of your favorite characters. It is kind of upsettingly sad to see like Jay and Silent Bob at 50. Like that's like an image that I probably didn't necessarily need in my brain.
To be fair, Jason Mewes looked like he's 50 for the last 30 years.
That is also valid.
that's true.
I don't want to spoil any of it, but what I'll say is that it is a movie about grief more than I thought it would be. And this is in the trailer, but the movie begins with Randall having a heart attack, and he talks about how as his life flashed before his eyes, he realized he wasted his life watching movies and never actually went and created a movie. So him and Dante sit down and they decide to make a movie, and what they are ultimately making is the first Clerks film that we watched in 1994. And he's like, I just want to take all of the great memories of my last 30 years and put them into one movie. So it does capture, I've said it before, I love movies about people making movies. Like that's always going to be a thing that brings me joy. But this is this is the best like dramatic beats that Kevin Smith has ever hit. Like when it gets to like serious stuff where they're talking about like Randall having to face his own mortality, or where it hits like these heavy things about aging and like nostalgia for your past and stuff like that, it really works. But there was times where I had the biggest dumb smile on my face, and this is the opening of the movie is literally the entirety of My Chemical Romance's Black Parade, while it's like showing almost a recreation of the first movie where they come in and there's gum on the locks and they are setting up the store and they're playing hockey on the roof, but they're just older. And it's like, it kind of captures this essence of like how you feel if you can just keep doing what you had always done in your 20s, like in your 50s. Like, would that be as epic as it seems in the movie? And then as the movie goes on, like maybe not so much, but like for that 5 minutes, you're just like, holy shit, yes! Like you're just like all in right out the gate. But it's a special movie. I think. I think that it's never going to go down as his greatest movie. Nothing ever really will top his early career. But this feels like the most restrained he's been, and it felt like the first time in years that he actually had a story he felt like he needed to tell. Like the rest was like Tusk is like I'm sure that movie felt like a fun idea to him, but it didn't feel like this feels like if I don't tell this story now, I might never get the chance to tell this story when you're watching it. So, I mean, big recommend. Go in with your expectations low, kind of similar to No Way Home. Like, if you don't care about the Clerks universe and the Kevin Smith universe, like, yeah, you're gonna fucking hate it. Like, no more differently than if if No Way Home was your first Spider-Man movie, you'd be like, what the fuck is this? But if you're a Kevin Smith fan, like, this feels like the last time we should ever see Jay and Silent Bob or any of these characters. It just feels like a perfect final statement. I'm sure that there will be more because he's talking about Mallrats 2 now, but this felt like it should be the end.
There's a band that I worked with called Rebuilder that has a song in Clerks 3 whose chorus is "Anything's better than New Jersey."
Yes.
So I'm glad that he got to. Yeah, I'm glad he got to use that. And I'm
I
sure it was used
remember that
appropriately.
song and wondering who that was. Also, Mega Ran has a song in like the main montage is set to a Mega Ran song, which is also really, really cool.
That's sick. Love a good soundtrack.
Yeah, no, and it's good. My Chemical Romance, Your Friend's Band, Mega Ran. It's a top-notch collective. Brian, how about you? What have you? I know you're easily the busiest of the people on this call, but have you had any time to watch anything?
Yeah, I've been on a Grindhouse kick lately. You know, I've watched a few, 70s Grindhouse films, but I'm only going to discuss one today. Which is Elsa, She-Wolf of the SS.
Oh no!
So I do want to. There's going to be a long one. I'm just letting you guys know. So buckle in, right? I am not my brother. My brother is like, hey, that movie looks vaguely interesting. Let me watch every trailer. Let me read Wikipedia pages about the movie, the director, the producers, and every actor, including extras. Me, I don't want to watch. I don't want to know anything. I just want to be like, oh, that sounds like a movie I'd watch. And sometimes it's great. And sometimes it's like I go into Parasite not knowing what it is. And like, wow, what a great movie. Sometimes I watch a Serbian film thinking it's a horror movie. Like, so it happens, So Elsa, I heard about in my late 20s, but I saw Grindhouse when I was like in my teens. So I genuinely thought this was a Nazi werewolf movie. It's not.
That's news to me.
There's no werewolves.
I thought that they were werewolves, and I was like interested, but
no, I didn't know. Oh no, okay. I didn't know you thought that there was.
I knew it was exploitative, but I didn't know that it was no werewolves.
This is just a women's werewolf movie. Right?
Oh, you got served up a different dish from the kitchen, brother. Okay.
So it's so fascinatingly offensive because it starts off with like a caption, right, where it's just like explaining like what you're about to see is the monstrosities of what actually happened in these camps, like almost like a Town That Dreaded Sundown, right? And now I'm going to tell you the movie, how I pictured the guy who made the movie pitched it to the production company, and he's like, I think at this point it's time to address Auschwitz. I think it's time to address the Holocaust. I think the people really need to know the true tortures of it and how's that and things like that. And they're like, okay, so what's the movie about? And it's like, oh, it's about this woman, right? She's a doctor at a concentration camp, and she does these really brutal tortures on people. Her whole goal is to show that women are stronger than men. So it's kind of like oddly supportive in that front.
That's one win.
Well, not being so supportive. It's going to not be as offensive, or you're not going to feel bad because all of the people in 1940s Germany in this film look like they're from 1977 and talk like Fonzie. But either way, so she has sex with men and then cuts their dick off so they can't have sex again. But then this American comes, right? And he fucks her. And he fucks her good. Like really good. So then he's back at the camp and they're like, yo, you didn't get your dick cut off. And he was like, yeah, because I'm kind of like a freak in nature. So like I only come when I want to come. And I can hold it for as long as I need. So he ends up fucking his way to freedom by constantly fucking Elsa, keeping her distracted before they finally take over the camp and win, but not really win because it gets destroyed. But either way, there's one girl that you're rooting for because you think she's going to be like the one who takes it home, and she ends up just getting fucking destroyed, obliterated. Like she looks at the end when she almost kills her, she looks like terra firma. like just burnt to shit. And I'm like, this kind of sucks. Like I watched Cruel or Thriller, A Cruel Picture, also known as They Call Her One Eye, and that's an hour and 45-minute movie with 45 minutes of just badass revenge. Elsa, She-Wolf of the SS is an hour and 45-minute movie with a 5-minute revenge. So the payoff is not worth it at all.
Yeah.
I have the bootleg if you want it, but you don't want it.
Yeah.
The only thing that would get me to want to watch this is because I'm firmly in the no fucking thank you camp right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't use that word today.
Really?
But
Yeah.
but the only thing that would make this even worth that last 5 minutes of the revenge part is if when this is such a stupid fucking joke. When they are fighting their way to freedom, tonight there's gonna be a jailbreak. If that song played because it's from the 70s, I would be like kind of into it. But no.
Scott, I'll just recut
Scott,
it for you, dude.
if you
Nobody's going to
didn't-
think it's blasphemous.
Don't make
If
me
you
watch
didn't
it.
hate this movie enough, right? If you didn't hate it enough, this is like the ending is almost like the biggest fuck you to Scott Roger ever. Because it's like this woman that can tolerate the most pain that inevitably is going to, like, you're rooting for her to take over, right? And then she ends up getting tortured. They burn all of her skin off. They boil her for like ever. So she's literally like just walking corpse. So then Elsa is tied up in her bed. And I'm not making this up. I swear to God, it's the biggest fuck you to Scott. She climbs on the bed with the knife to kill Elsa. And then right before she stabs her, she dies. And then a blonde-haired man shoots her right in the head and just takes away the woman's, like, the final girl's moment of killing. They're just like, a man's like, that's my job to do this. Boom. And then leaves.
Does it make you want to watch it?
Aren't Grindhouse
You don't see the
movies
anger
great?
in Scott's face.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
Disappointed. I'm
All
sorry,
right,
Dad.
Kyle, how about you?
I just have a question about, are you going to watch the other ones, Brian?
There's more?
Probably not. Probably not,
Yeah,
because
dog.
I know that they made 3 because of how much of a hit it became in like Canada or whatever. But like, dude,
in relative terms, yeah.
Like, so I knew that there was a sequel, so I was like, okay, that she dies, right? Like the girl dies before she could kill Elsa to leave room for the sequel. But this dude blows her fucking head off. And it shows her head being blown off.
Yeah.
So I would probably watch the first 5 minutes of the second one
just
know.
Out
of curiosity on like how
it's got to be Nazi experiments, right? Like Nazi experiments must have brought her back.
Well, no. So
Yeah, and then
I
what's
just
really going to
checked.
suck is the second one, she's going to be a werewolf. And it's like, this is what I wanted to watch the first
Right.
time.
So Wiki does say none of the
Matt
sequels
Kelly coming in.
have any story continuity with each other. They just simply depict her in wildly different locations and time periods.
Yeah.
And every single one ends with her death or or her in captivity.
Wow,
Yeah.
honestly,
Also,
actually,
She-Wolf
that
of the
trilogy.
Titanic.
Well, I remember a poster for one of her in like a winter hat.
Yeah.
More so, it's like was she did Siberia maybe? I
Yeah,
can't
the
remember,
last
but
one was Elsa and the Tigress of Siberia.
That's
Which
what it
again,
was.
Wikipedia says the fourth and final entry is the only one shot on location in Canada and is unique amongst the series for only having a 2-act structure.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
that might be the one to go with.
Yeah, I just don't know why it's on so many lists because it's bad. It's just not
No, it's
good.
bad.
It's like, as someone who is, a big proponent of like art free of expression, I like watch. I was like, yeah, this movie should be banned.
Yeah.
This is like Song of the South category where it's like, yeah, keep that one banned. That's a good ban.
Well, she always was like, to me, she always was the poster girl for Nazi exploitation. But I also don't know that many other Nazi exploitation movies anyway. You know what I mean?
I think it's just because it was unexpected. Like it's the same thing with like, is Deep Throat that much better of any other 70s porn? No, but it was the one that like somehow everyone unanimously in 1 year was like, no, this is the one that everyone is going to go watch, and it's going to be like way bigger at the box office than it has any right being. Like for some reason that movie did better than all of the other dingy grindhouse movies. So like it's held up to a
Is
higher.
The Sinful Dwarf the best dwarf exploitation film out there? Is it
Or is it what's it called?
Exactly my point. My point.
Oh,
exactly.
God. All right,
Thank you,
Kyle,
Brian.
how about your next pick?
Bro, I've not been watching shit. Clearly, I didn't even get to the movies for this week. But
You did watch some Bluey with
have,
me.
Yeah, I've been watching Under Arrest, which is on Netflix. It is a 90s and early to mid 2000s Canadian cops. And so I used to love watching cops, and due to growing up as a person and seeing how fucking horrible cops can be, but in reality, not just the show.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been really difficult to like watch some of what goes on Cops. Some of it's fun. I love older cops that go to trailer parks and just deal with drunk people, right? Like that's my favorite one. My least favorite is Modern Cops, where everything's a drug charge and they force it to be a drug charge, and it's a miserable nightmare. Under Arrest is lovely because again, it's Canada. It is the Canadian. Like, just as an example of an offense, if you get pulled over for a DUI, they put you in the drunk tank, they take your license, you get it 24 hours later. Like, public intoxication, same thing. Like, they were talking about a guy that they arrested 116 times in a calendar year.
Jeez.
And it's like, oh, you don't, for the same thing, for public intoxication, right? So it's like, the way that they structure things make the offenses not as large, which means that the people that they're arresting fucking hate the police. They are so disrespectful of Canadian cops. And Canadian cops, if I were to like rank them in how great they are as law enforcement, they like are decently respectful for the most part. And the Canadian public that they choose to show on this show fucking hate them. And they use the word, just as a content, I'm going to use the C word in reference to British slang for a second. So they use the word, Canadians use the word goof the same way that British people use the word cunt, where it seems like a really digging name. And so they're like, get that out of my face, you fucking goof.
I love like, this, so
goof,
cute.
It's the best thing ever. 17 minutes. So there have been 2 times, though, where they've chosen to show bodies a little more explicitly than I would have liked. So you do have to be a little wary of that should you go into this show. But I would say 95, more than that, 97% of it is lovely. Lovely, lovely. And it's all on Netflix. It's got 8 seasons on Netflix.
Oh my God.
It's insane. I can't, like, I'm shocked, but I've been watching that at night before bed, and it's just a joy.
All right, Scott, you're the last one, buddy.
All right, well, I've got just a short little essay on this little film that I got to watch called Bloody Hell. Terrible name. It's on Shudder. It dropped sometime this summer, I want to say. And I was like, oh, this looks fine. It's a revenge type movie. And I was just like, I put it on as I was working, and I had to stop it because Ben O'Toole is in it. And Ben O'Toole is not a big name, but he is the lead in Necrotronic, which is one of my top 5 favorite horror movies of the last decade. It's just so good and so fun and silly. And in this, he's this main character that basically has PTSD, and he saves a bunch of people from an armed bank robbery, and but one person dies, not partially his fault. He goes to prison for 8 years for a involuntary manslaughter charge, because he did like the vigilante thing and he killed all the bad guys with guns, but one of them took out somebody while he was doing that. So he gets out of prison and he's kind of a minor celebrity in his city, and so he's like, I just need to go somewhere. So he goes to Finland, goes to Helsinki, and immediately gets taken captive by a family that wants to eat him. And then since he has PTSD, he talks to himself, but it's like a visual hallucination, and it's just a popcorn kind of like Hills Have Eyes but in Europe kind of movie. And Ben O'Toole is just very, very charming and has a lot of charisma on screen. It's a fun movie. I probably wouldn't watch it a second time because it probably doesn't hold water, but it's a good time. I recommend if you got an hour and a half to kill, it's a fun watch, but don't expect anything like groundbreaking from it. But that's a recent movie that didn't piss me off, which I thought was great because so much recent stuff is just like, are you serious? And I also, since Brian's on, I've been waiting to mention this because I haven't told him in the chat because he's so busy. I watched the original Toolbox Murders on Shudder.
Oh, a Colin Ainsworth favorite.
Oh, that was one of my picks.
I thought that you were going to do the Tobe Hooper remake.
You're right. Thank you. Thanks for keeping me in check.
And that's why I watched the original, because I wanted to have that cultural comparison. I didn't hate it. It was a lot more progressive than I was expecting it to be. It still was somewhat exploitative, but not any worse than like Slumber Party Massacre, the original. I mean, it was really not that bad. And it was a satisfying watch, and I'm actually really looking forward to when we get to discuss the remake, because I have that kind of groundwork for the future.
Well, we'll have to get Brian back because Sherry Moon's in it.
Oh, well, fucking, it's done. Brian, sorry, buddy.
I will be there. Yeah, the weird thing about that Colin kid that we knew is like he wasn't like a horror movie guy. Like he wasn't a huge horror movie fan, but like the three that he loved were Toolbox Murders, Alice Sweet Alice, and Trick or Treat, which like for someone who's not a horror movie fan,
that's the Holy Trinity.
Yeah, like, those are three phenomenal horror movies.
Incredible.
All right, well, we will be back next week with more Horror Movie Night. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Brian, for popping in, giving us back our old memories of you being a regular. One day, there'll be the four of us regularly, and God help my editing. When that day comes. But
One day we will all join, but until then, I will sit here and play my guitar. And that's when we can cut into me playing what's actually Scott playing, and then everyone thinks that I played the guitar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank God. They'll finally know. The world will finally know.
They'll think they know, and then I get Scott fame.
Yeah, good luck with that.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.